Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with award-winning singer, songwriter, and actress Dawn Derow. We talked about her new 2021 CD called My Ship, Life and COVID, and her collective life in the arts and music. She is a Cape Cod native turned New Yorker and grew up in Easton, Massachusetts. She graduated from the Boston Conservatory with a degree in music, vocal performance with an opera emphasis. She's gone on to have a thriving career. Enjoy her story.
Wonderful. Dawn, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz.
I'm so excited to be here. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you kind of got lost and mired in the interviews, as you said the other day in the emails. So that's good.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is awesome. Thank you for, reaching out and being interested in this kind of music.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I think it's good medicine and therapy for everybody, for sure. Let's talk first and foremost about My Ship, songs from 1941. It's a wonderful recording, and it's coming out during a time where, I've thought about this a lot with COVID. Every generation goes through something that's trying, to put it mildly, or traumatic, to put it heavily. And right now with COVID since March of 2020, it almost seems like kind of like our world war, so to speak. So it's interesting interesting timing. So talk to me about the release of this and how it feels for you.
I feel like it was great for me to be kind of quarantined and be able to go dive deeper into this project because it had already been a show and I'd performed it a lot in various places. So even though it took us a while to record everything and go into the studio, obviously one of our dates got canceled and we had to push it back. I just got to really sit with the music and let it brew a little bit, so to speak, Yeah, I really think it is a really trying period right now for us, and it does feel kind of like finding kind of a bunker, so to speak, in terms of getting home and just, listening to music and sitting down and just having that escapism.
Well, and during this time, it's been self-reflective, the lockdown pandemic time. What did you learn about yourself over this time that maybe you didn't realize before that's going to make you stronger as you come out and promote this new album and hopefully have more live shows?
I think I've learned that it's really important to have a good team behind you. It's really important to have amazing musicians and other artists and producers, directors that, have your back, that see your vision, take your ideas and really make them grow, cultivate them. I think that's something right now in my career as a singer, I really feel is paramount,
So let's go back a little bit in your lineage here. And you grew up Easton, Massachusetts. And how did music become your life? What was it about jazz that sparked you, and how did you end up where you're at now?
Well, I came to the jazz standards or American Songbook a little bit later. I think that they were always there and I listened to them, but I studied opera at the Boston Conservatory. So I come from a classical background. I come from a musical theater background. I also play guitar and write songs, so I love singer-songwriter. So I have kind of this versatile history, and it still continues to be very versatile for me. I started really diving in to the American Songbook in 2015. I was working with the late, great Barry Levitt, who was my original music director on this album and not on the album, but for the show and for the music and a lot of the arrangements. And we had started just diving into really sitting down and listening to Ella Fitzgerald and Anita O'Day and Carmen McRae. He kind of said to me, listen to this person, listen to that. And I had listened to them before, but I think I came to it with a new set of ears because I wanted to expand, into this genre of music, into these songs that are just so well written. I mean, you really can't go wrong. It's amazing when you think of, some of the pop songs today, and you're like, wow, it's just they knew how to write a song back then, So that's what spoke to me. There's so many amazing torch singers, jazz singers that I admire, and Anita O'Day was actually one of the ones. Her album from 1975 was kind of what stimulated this entire thing. I was listening to her song, her version of My Ship. I think it was early 2017. I was just obsessed with it, and I then was hired to do a show that had an all 40s theme. It was a part of a cabaret festival up in Provincetown, Massachusetts, up on Cape Cod, where I'm from. And that's when I was working with Barry, and I said, well, what else was written in 1941? Let's look at the rest of that. Why don't we just do a show based on all songs from one year? And as we looked through and started digging into the history of, everything that was going on that year, I mean, kind of like what you're saying about 2020 and 2021, it's just 80 years later, the world is kind of spinning out of control, and in 1941 it was spinning out of control. So it is an interesting parallel for sure.
So what was the first live jazz show that you ever saw that made you think, wow, this is wonderful?
I love Ann Hampton Callaway. She's one of my favorite interpreters, musicians. She is just such a classy lady, such a sweetheart, and I think hers was really the first that blew me away, and I thought, oh my God, not only can she connect with the audience, not only can she scat and write lyrics and write songs, and I mean, she just does it all. So, and not to say that, I mean, I don't know, my songwriting is okay, but I like to go see a jazz show, whether it's just, my friend Benny Benack, who plays on the album, he's also, I watch him and his energy, it's infectious. And I love to go see shows. I spend a lot of time when I'm in the city, when I'm in New York, going to Birdland. And I worked there actually as a waitress years and years and years ago in 2008. So just getting intoxicated by the sounds and the music around you, I think, Stacey Kent, that's another one who I remember seeing at Birdland who blew me away, So those are some, yeah. I mean, I could keep going.
Right. No, that's great. No, I think it's all about kind of that flashpoint when it all begins and kind of pulls you in. And you've been at it.
The intimacy, too. I think I want to add into that, like the intimacy of it, that you can be in a room with 60 to 100 people in the audience, and, it feels like it's just for you. Like, I'm sure so many people say that, but that's what pulls me in, and that's what makes me want to also do that, and also get up on stage, perform, and make it feel like I'm singing to each individual, and it's for them,
and you've obviously dedicated yourself to this work, and you love singing. What is it that you look forward to the most about this profession? What do you like the best about creating and singing music?
I think right now what resonates with me is this idea of escapism, that I can get on stage and I know I'm about to set forth on a journey. And this one I created, so it's very, it is my ship, in so many ways. But I look forward to helping the audience do that, guiding them to let everything go, come into a jazz room or cabaret room or wherever it is, and just let me take you on a journey. That is something. I mean, even, we're going to do the CD release show in New York on January 15th, and I'm really excited to get up there again. And I mean, I've done the show a lot. I've sang the music, now for almost 5 years, and every time it's a new voyage.
You're up next to New York. You're kind of next to the pulse of the jazz for the entire globe. Since all of this has happened with COVID and things have kind of reopened, what's your sense of how jazz will be stronger or more relevant as we return to it?
I think we need to keep sharing music, sharing it with each other, supporting each other. I think that's what makes it stronger. Keep interpreting these songs. They're having that moment to just pick a song that was written whenever, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, and how can you make it your own, and how can you bring it into 2022, and give it this new flavor and this through a new lens with a new energy. I think that's what makes the jazz community, the vocal community stronger. I think that's important.
If you have a dream tonight and you run into your younger self around the time that you were getting ready to get into professional music and start singing in earnest, and you could give your younger self one piece of advice, and this isn't about regret, this is about wisdom that you've gained over the years, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, that's really tough, because I don't want to think of like, oh, I didn't do something and I regret it. I really look back at my history into my professional year, into my, education. And I mean, maybe it would just be to educate myself more to, actually, it's funny. I actually just started taking piano lessons again. So maybe I would tell my younger self, don't quit piano just because you want to sing. I think that's probably what I would say right now. But, because I really did open myself to a lot of different styles at a young age. And though I got the classical education and technique vocally, maybe I would tell my younger self, hey, go over to Berklee and take some classes. Because now Boston Conservatory is combined with Berklee, but back then it wasn't. So maybe that's what I would say to my younger self.
Why do you love jazz?
I love the freedom. I love it feels like it comes from a natural place for me when I sing it. It feels like it comes really from an authentic, freeing place. I think that's why I love jazz. Vocally, when you get a song and you put it in the correct key for your voice, it feels like it comes from my natural being, from my authentic soul. Put on, it's not put on. Yeah. It's not put on a pedestal. I don't think, and I mean that in a way that when I think of when I used to sing opera, it's just such a different approach. You have to sing every note exactly. You have to stay in that musical box. You have to do it exactly like the score says. And jazz is more freeing. It's more, it comes from such a deep place in your gut, in your soul,
So everyone has a perception or an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you have a perception of you. You live your life. Who do you think you are?
Wow. How much time you got? No. Well, I think I'm definitely confident. I definitely have had confidence ever since I was a kid. I know that I'm a very open person. I'm very easygoing. I like to be inclusive. Inclusivity is huge for me, and I've realized that even more so recently. Maybe because we were, we couldn't gather together in groups for for almost 2 years. Inclusivity, accepting people that are around me, but also wanting to include them and myself wanting to be included into that. And I mean that in, specifically with music and jazz, like I was saying, like if we keep sharing each other's music and connecting the dots, I think that's really important. I'm a big team player, and I'm pretty sassy. I'm pretty goofy sometimes. I don't know. I'm a lot of things.
That's a great answer. Dawn, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. Good luck with My Ship and as we move forward to live shows and the rest.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate the time.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers in New York City, Cape Cod, Boston, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Dawn for her time, music, and class. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.